let's just go through the 4-game losing streak that the Blues are currently on. The first one started with the Edmonton Oilers, a complete dominating of the Blues, a shutout, 5-0. Looks like 3 stars were Nugent Hopkins. He had a goal. Zach Hyman had 2 goals and an assist. I don't know why he is the second star. He's got more than Nugent Hopkins. Anyways, Connor Ingram just blanking the Blues a brick wall. That was a sad one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And we lost Sundquist out of the deal as well. That nice little cut on the back of the leg. They had insult to injury there.
Or really injury to insult. Like, that one's rough. And I'll be honest, at that point, as that had happened, I had already shut off the video feed, and I was just cooking dinner listening to it. And then, you get even more bad news. So I guess it's a good thing I shut that one off. So after that was the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep.
We got 1 goal out of that. Jordan Kyrou in the second period on the power play. That was the setting up for the one-timer. Actually looked like somebody who should be on the power play. And I feel like you get a little glimmer of what the power play could be, but it still isn't really doing it. In this one, they get 3, Morrissey, Scheifele, and Scheifele again with the empty netter. Just pile it on.
Yeah, with those 2 games, that's being outscored 8-1. That you can't do that anywhere, anytime, any part of the season. So, yeah, that's pretty bad.
And then Dallas Stars, the Blues actually, they make this a close one. Wyatt Johnston scores in the first. Dalibor Dvorsky ties it up. And then Bucci gets the goal in the second to get the lead back. And then we get another goal from the Stars, Duchesne, to tie that up. And then it is all but the last minute of the third period that it stays tied up. And then we get another taste of kind of what happened in Winnipeg with that the playoffs and the 1.6. They score with a minute left, and Blues obviously aren't going to come back from that. So another disappointing one, heartbreaker.
Yeah, they had pulled Hofer before they even had possession of the puck on that last minute there. And to me, that's just not great play calling. Was Ott still with us at that point, or had he already been moved?
I feel like he had already been moved at that point.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that I think so, because the Winnipeg one, that was the first game with Monty running the special teams.
Okay.
Or at least the power play.
All right.
Okay, not last night, but night before last. Blues play the Kings. The Kings come out, they get the first goal. Second period, they get another, and then Dvorsky, Shen, and Kyrou all get goals. And then, of course, they give up one. Going into the third period, you're looking at 3-3. Trevor Moore, he gets a goal, and then it is down to, what is this? A minute or so. They pull the goalie, which, like you were saying, almost never works for the Blues. And Jordan Kyrou actually gets the goal to put it into overtime. Now, they go through all of overtime scoreless. Also not something that normally happens. So if you're looking for silver linings, there you go. But when are they going to happen again? And then in the shootout, Trevor Moore takes care of it, and another loss for the Blues. You could go back to what you were saying before we started, the whole, at least they got a point. But man, that's just not enough for me, at least.
No, heck of a return for Trevor Moore too, coming off that injury and putting both nails in the coffin as far as that game goes. But offensively, that was a better game. Like it was spread out a little bit, so that was nice to see. You had action from all levels of the team there, but at the end, it's still a loss, like you said. And shootouts, I love them, but it's unless you have. Well, Kyrie was on his game that night, but we don't have a lot of snipers like that, so it doesn't really help us when we go to a shootout.
Yeah, we can talk about Kairu there. So, and it doesn't even seem like it was really the entire game. It seemed like he turned it on, I would say halfway through the second, and he was out, like out skating guys, dangling, doing his whole thing. And like, what did he get? He got 2 goals out of it. So
Yeah,
why is it that he can't do that every single night?
that's an excellent question, and probably if you look at that last series that we played against Winnipeg, when he started getting beat up, he started getting a lot puck shy, and I feel like some of those habits have carried into this season. If you kind of watch him, he shrinks up a little bit around the play, and I guess when he's feeling good, it's not that, but on a day to day basis, I'm watching him shrink up and kind of get away from the puck more than anything instead of being on it like he should be.
That is true, but I will say in this small period and a half that we saw like the Jordan Kyrou we should be getting all the time, I saw him throw a hit. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I don't know what was said to the kid, but like, can we get that consistently? Does he? Did somebody say like Thomas is about to be traded out of here, or hell, you're about to be traded out of here? So like something's got to happen. Um, I want to know so bad like what happened there, and if he's if that was just a good game, or if he's like turned it on and he's about to do some crazy stuff. As a fan, you hope he's about to do some crazy stuff.
Right. And that does seem to happen when you have key guys like Thomas drop out for due to injury or whatnot. You see somebody step up, whether it's like Cairo or neighbors or something. They start finding the back of the net. Just I guess maybe it's more ice time too, so that probably helps out a lot. But yeah, it's you're not
Yeah,
wrong
you
that
would think
period and a
it.
half.
Yeah, yeah. You want that to be, um, not a fluke, not a random thing. You want that to go forward. And speaking of going forward, there are 5 games remaining before the Olympic break, um, and the first one is up against the Stars, who, you know, we actually had a pretty good game against.
I was
Um,
going to say we played pretty
so
well against them.
yeah. So do we think we can do that again? Do you think Kairu, turns it on and kind of leads us through? Because I would love to see it. I would love to get just something going, some momentum.
Yeah, you made a good point in one of your last videos saying usually the second half they turn it on and we see something happen, but we're kind of well into that second half now. And yeah, the Olympic break is coming up. It's a little longer than the Four Nations break, obviously, but I feel like a little breather might not hurt the right people on that team.
Yeah, definitely agree with that because they came out of the Christmas break, which was what, 3 days. Like they they have spurts in the schedule where they're off just 3 days. And it did seem to help, but obviously, what, for 2 games at a time, because it seems like the Blues can never, get to that third game. Um, but in this, this little stretch after the Stars, we've got the Panthers, who are above 500. Blue Jackets are above 500. Predators, slightly above 500, and then who caps it off? The Stars. So do they try to get some confidence from the Stars and try to just plow through these guys? Because I mean, if you can rack up points, and I say points, but we should demand more. If you can rack up wins um, in these last 5 games, and carry that momentum into the break, into post break, then I don't know. I think you can really feed off of that, but I just don't know if I see that happening.
I don't see it happening, just due to the fact that we do have the pieces on the right night. You'll see the offense show up. You'll see the defense show up. I mean, we actually played a second period in that last game against the Kings, and that's kind of unlike us. We're usually just there for the
Right.
first and third, but they showed up, and if we can get that more consistently and play all 60 minutes, then yeah, we might have something there. But we cannot continue to show up and not give a full effort on all 3 periods.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of time, um, it seems like if you go back to any of the you have a 2 game win streak, and you're going into your next game, like they don't even show up for the first period. Um, you go to like one of the game, Washington, the game against the Bruins, even just recently with the Edmonton Oilers, like you just don't show up. And I mean, even if we can, I guess, kind of go off track here, the penalty kill has been awful. Like it has
Oh yeah,
been, I've said it before, it's been the beginning of the end in multiple games now. Um, now, I think that's with both Bennington and Hofer. So like that's not a goalie thing, which we can get to that too. But it's not a goalie thing. It's simply like the play in front of it. So if they can get that tightened up, which honestly they had a pretty good penalty kill against the Kings, I believe. Let me see here. Yeah, they killed off 3 penalties. Um, and obviously that's with Hofer, but again, like you see a lot of good things in that Kings game. Braden Shen gets the power play goal. Like that's kind of what you should get. Obviously, like you want to finish that, but I don't know. I don't know, man. This team's breaking my brain, and I'm tired of it.
yeah, no doubt. We play Dallas tomorrow, and then I'll be at the game on Thursday against Florida, so that should be
Oh,
interesting.
nice.
Uh, they've kind of had a checkered run the past 10 games or so, though. But then they'll win, 9-0. It's like okay, or no, actually they
Right.
got beat 9-0 or whatever it was. Yeah.
So, going outside of the schedule and all of this, I talked about it a little bit, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. Steve Ott going to the Springfield Thunderbirds. Um, I think there's several things to it. People are making stuff up based on good evidence. But like this is really just Steve Ott's path to ending up as an NHL head coach.
And that's the way they're packaging it for sure. I mean, Steve,
Yes.
he's been on that bench for almost a decade now, and has survived everything. He gone through what 3 separate head coaches in that time frame, if not more, and
Yep.
he's stayed there. So, like you said, that's the way they're kind of showing it is that's his path to the NHL. But his first game down there, they win in overtime. So that's
Yeah.
already a good test on his leadership right there.
Yep. And I will say, he they had a game. I think it was last night. It was last night or the other. It doesn't matter. But their second game, they did lose, but it was just a 1 goal game. And I mean,
Okay.
literally, it was 1-0. So
Yeah.
that's still a battle. Um, for having a not very great team handed to him, um coming in battling and only allowing the one, that's pretty good. And that looks like consistency, and that's kind of the best thing you can do.
Right. I don't think that there's any grand conspiracy to him leaving. I think that they were kind of looking for a mix up on the bench, and maybe that's it. But he's not being replaced right away, though, right?
Yeah, no, I think Monty said that maybe that's something they look at for after the break. But like, you just got to think this team, just with the way we've seen things go, we can kind of assume that nothing is going to happen this season and probably for a couple of seasons after. Um, and so you kind of want to, like, he wants his shot. He wants to be an NHL head coach, or at least that's kind of what this shows. And so let's let Monty take care of it. You go off, you do your thing. Fly little birdie fly. I
Right.
think that's kind of the way it is. Which good on Armstrong. Armstrong is very good at like putting people where they can succeed if it's not going to happen here.
That's true. Yeah, I wonder when his decision making stops. That's got to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I hear that it's just a super slow transition that even next year with Steiner taking over the role as GM, um, Doug Armstrong is still going to be president of hockey operations. That all seems a little, you know, what's the word? Like complicated to me. So like who's
Yeah,
really making the decisions, yada yada yada. But I have thought about, and this is kind of getting out there. I have thought about, does Tom Stillman try to do something, or does he just leave it up to uh Army and Steiner?
I don't know. I
Do you
haven't
think he
even
would
thought
hire
about
outside
that.
help?
The Blues are really good about keeping their guys in the organization and then bringing ones that have left back in, right? Uh,
True.
and we saw that with the Hall of Fame ceremony there. Just all the classic guys that have been around and probably been a part of the front office at least some point in their career that continuously have that cycle now that we've been around for a few
Right.
decades, and now we have those guys that have been through it, have fought the wars, fought the battles, and now they can bring that experience to the front office. So I think having those familiar faces around probably goes a long way with Army. And not saying like it's good to have all gray hairs on the bench, but it's working out. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that really is, I guess, the bane of my existence. It's like just being in the dark, not knowing what's going to happen, if there's going to be a move, if we're just going to like stand pat, like what is happening. Because I'm nonstop checking like Jeremy Rutherford or Luke Korek or, any of those guys, Andy Strickland, just to see, like, is there anything new? Is anything happening? There never is, but
no, and
you
and
always hope.
stay off Reddit because everybody has their own theories, and they heard it from a guy who heard it from a guy that Kyrie already lives in New York or
Right.
something. So
Right. Well, moving on from that, we've got Stenberg being sent
yeah,
back down to the AHL. Um, and again, kind of like you said, people had, well, honestly, really no theories. I feel like just everyone was like, why? Why would you do that? He's a great player. He's doing great for us. He's all this stuff. But then of course Jeremy Rutherford posted saying that if he played any more games before the break, uh, he would not be eligible to go back down. And we're gonna need that room because Suter's coming back soon. Um, Sunquist will be back soon. Holloway will be back soon. And Thomas within what, a week or two. They said he'd be reevaluated in 2 weeks, so that time is coming. Um, so I mean, yeah, we're gonna need that room. But do you think that he's an immediate call up whenever the break ends?
he's proven himself to be pretty handy on his shifts. He's at least a presence and shows up on the ice. So it's Is he just that guy that's sitting in the wings waiting for another injury? Or is it kind of going to be like a Dvorsky thing where he's kind of in, kind of out, just hanging out in the suites or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I would think if things, I guess, continue. Uh, well, let's put it this way: you've got these 5 games coming up. If the Blues show their same inconsistency with all these 5 games, I would like to think that after the break, I don't know when like the trade freeze ends or how that works whenever people are over at the Olympics. Um, but I would like to think if we are still inconsistent and the break ends, Stenberg would be called back up and we would start seeing some changes. We'd start seeing some guys moved off. Um, I keep seeing stuff about, Thomas and Kairu, not exactly being shopped, but they're, listening. And I've seen things about, Shen and Falk. So, like, what do you think? Do you think we see moves? Do you think, um, nothing really happens? What do you think, buddy?
I think that we're going to need the cap space if we want to make some moves. So, you look at Kairu, Booch, and Thomas, they're all heavy, heavy contracts. Um, I don't, well, even with Falk, or, he's the only one that's worth a trade right now, too. The rest of the bunch is kind of
Agreed.
not there. Or you're gonna and you can throw Bennington into the mix now too because his name has been brought up a bunch. But I've heard a rumor that you get more for goalies in the offseason than you do before the trade deadline. And given that his performance this season has not been stellar, he probably doesn't. His stock probably isn't very high until we see something at the Olympics, perhaps, and then maybe that's a golden opportunity to move him, get some room on the books, and make some other changes.
I agree with that. I do want to touch on the Olympics with Benner. However, you're talking about cap space. Something that kind of looms in the background is that I'm pretty sure Torrey Krug is still on. Um, that like we could totally use what is there because he's on long term IR. He's it's very likely that he just doesn't play anymore. So
Right.
why do you think we haven't like tried to do anything with that just yet? Or do you think, moves like Berggren and Fabry and stuff are kind of dipping into that tank?
No, it's a. I know that we get an expansion of the cap, so we're going to get a little room anyways. League wide, they get. I'm not sure what the percentage is. As
But it's
far as
going up
like,
via the CBA.
yes, yeah, exactly. When it comes to the other players that you mentioned, I mean, are you trading 3 guys for one in a draft to some guy, flash in the pan from Chicago or something? It's difficult right now. And if are you going to retool or are you going to rebuild? Because that's your biggest difference is you get rid of the core and totally rebuild, or you just retool. You find the guy that nobody's talking about in the WHL or something. It's difficult to say, and I guess that's why Army and those guys make the big bucks because
Yeah. So I want to make sure I don't forget. So do you think, let's say Benner goes into the Olympics and he's just lights out. Um, do you think right after that you would see, well, for one, not just any team, but do you think you would see Edmonton um try to pick him up knowing that if a good team is in front of him, he can do what he says he can do? I understand. Let me preface that real quick because I've heard that Edmonton is on his no trade, but he can still. I assume he can waive that. Um, Given he knows what's kind of not happening here in St. Louis right now,
I mean, Edmonton is our favorite dance partner. We've made a bunch of trades with
right?
those guys, um, but with Bennington, coming back, let's say he did great in the Olympics and won the gold, right? Um, you watch that game with Edmonton. the last one here. McDavid shows no mercy when he's coming at Bennington in the net, and almost felt like a little disrespectful the way he was beating him up in there. And is that like a thing saying I don't want this guy on my team if he can't even stop my backhand or something? You know, like it's they just went through that with the what's their last goalie there, Skinner. I mean, they
Mm,
his story is very similar to Bennington's, right? Just minus the cup, and he got chased out of Edmonton. Edmonton's a hard town to play for, and you know, especially in a goalie's position. And we can touch on Allmark's situation too, um, because
yeah.
lots of stress on those boys. And I don't know if Edmonton would be even interested, to be honest with you.
I mean, who does Edmonton have right now?
They got the guy from what's his name, Yuri from Pittsburgh, but he got injured upon arrival, and so
Are you serious?
I
Oh, I
forget.
didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Tristan Jari is who they got, and I think Connor Ingram.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Connor Ingram actually has done well in net for them. So, well, yeah, we
Yeah,
yeah
that's
against us
that's
for sure.
who. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I definitely wonder, what will happen there. The wonderful world of the NHL. But like you were saying, the Allmark thing. So, um I hope I say this right. Is it Linus? Is it Linus? Linus?
yeah. I look at it
Allmark?
as Linus. So yeah.
Well, I gave everybody three. Take your pick. So with Allmark, he has come out and addressed his leave of absence. So obviously, whenever he went on leave, like the internet just ate it up. Um, it like a lot of people, starting rumors about like him having an affair and like all of this stuff, and it's like um, the internet is a dangerous place, but you saw interviews with Brady Kachuk where like he did not hold back, um, and then now you've got Allmark. Like there's a whole video from TSN where he's like explaining himself and all of this stuff. Now the short of it is that like none of the rumors or whatever that people have came out with are true. It's basically he like has just had some mental health stuff. So one something I want to say is that I don't really think that us as fans, not as like just Blues fans, but hockey fans in general, I don't think we need to know any of that. Um, I don't think that's any of our business. I think what we get to pay attention to is your performance, your stats, and like if we want to go into you like being a person, like I'm sure people do like community work, they go to hospitals, all that stuff, whatever. Um, but other than that, like I don't need to know who you are as a person because like you get to have that. You get to have that privacy. Like do you feel the same way about that or do you think like we're in the public eye, they I don't maybe not like we deserve that, but like they're in the public eye, they should expect that.
Well, looking at it from his perspective here, just in his situation in particular, I mean, you're putting on the pads in front of 18,000 people every night. And from what I understand, he had like a pretty good anxiety attack or panic attack on the ice against Toronto. And, it all kind of spiraled out of control there. And looking at it from this point, the man, had to take a step away from his job and instantly just publicly flamed, all the rumors, like you're saying. And then he gets over it and he comes back and then he has to explain himself that he has anxiety or mental stress and this, that, and the other. So I think even his return shows that his mental fortitude has already came a long way since that game in Toronto in December. He having that ability to sit down and explain to the world that this is what's going on with your head and this is why I wasn't able to perform for you guys. And that is a feat in itself. So good on him.
Yes.
Now, being in public, yeah, being a hockey player, especially in Canada, you're going to be under the magnifying glass of every news person, every fan, everything, you know. And not saying it's any different down here, but just up there, they're pretty prideful about it. And so I'm sure that the public media was just tearing them apart as well. So being in that public, having that attention on you, you sign up for it, yeah, but to what point? And like you said, just judge them on their performance. Let's look at that before we start talking about what kind of sheets they use.
Yeah, because if I can think back to like people that I don't um, like as hockey players, I'm not a Kadri fan. I'm not a Patrick Kane fan. I didn't like Jordan Tutu, but like them as
PK Subban.
people, oh my, yes, no, that is one. Um,
Yeah.
but them as people, um, like whether they are good or not, I don't care, because that's not the part of them that I'm a fan of. It's like, what did you do on the
Right.
ice? What did you do to help the team? Like that's all I care about. A little derailing there, but so next game is against the Stars. Let's hope they do something killer there. Other than that, I guess we'll kind of cap it off here and
Yeah.
say like this is what it's going to be now. So, you know, um thank you Jesse for coming in, being a part of this and joining me on this thing. Thanks for everybody listening. Hell, you close it out. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, folks, and let's go Blues.